we're recording now, Sean. So.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see me. Thanks to the coronavirus crisis, we're delivering this event online that was intended to be a live event. So thank you to those that have taken the trouble to join us. Please bear with us if we don't quite get it right, because we're learning our way into this technology. The other thing that we've done is when we were doing live events, we thought that we would normally do a live event for the best part of a day. We thought it would try people's patience a little bit too much to expect them to be on a webinar for a day. So we're trying to deliver shorter events, and we really hope that they work for you. So by way of introduction, this is me. I'm Sean McCarthy. I chair the Supply Chain School. I'm going to be trying to help the speakers through the event today and helping with your questions, etc. And then I've got a short presentation about the Supply Chain School at the end. We put that at the end very deliberately because many of you attending might be very familiar with the school and have heard it before. So if you have, then do feel free to drop off, because you don't necessarily need to be listening to me for part of your very valuable morning. So, okay, so this is where we are. So as I say, this is quite new to us. It's not the first webinar that we've run by any means, but we're all getting used to working virtually, as I'm sure all of you are that are listening. So you can dial in if you're not able to attend online. Obviously, you'll only be able to listen if you dial in, but there are dial-in details there if you do have technical difficulties. If you get your questions ready, we'll be conducting a Q&A. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a chat function, so you can type in questions at any time during the session. My colleague Rosie is mediating in the background, so good morning, and thanks, Rosie, for reorganising all of this for us. So she'll be mediating the chat function, so you can type in if you've got any technical difficulties or any questions about the technology or the platform. You can type in and Rosie can deal with that for you. Equally, if you've got questions for any of our speakers, then do feel free to type them in as you go, and then I'll attempt to bring together the questions at the end of each speaker's session. We're scheduled this morning for an hour and a half. At the end of the session, you'll see a feedback form would appear. So please do take a few seconds to fill in the form. It's really more important than ever that we get your feedback, because we really need to learn how to do these events really well. So brilliant if you can give us your feedback and tell us what you think. So this is today's agenda. So I'm just going to set the context for the day, which is not going to take too long, and then we're going to introduce three really excellent speakers around the subject of social value. So Jo Dobson from Useful Projects, who's been doing some work with the Institution of Civil Engineers around social value, and she's going to be talking about the results of those findings, so looking across the industry at how well we're doing this. And then we've got some specific case studies. Firstly, from Kimberly from VGC, talking about opportunities for ex-offenders and how we can create social value in that way. And then we've got Evelyn from Danny Sullivan talking about social value on HS2. So questions, as I say, I'll be inviting questions at the end of each speaker's session, and then wrap up with any questions that you might have at the end, and then talk to you about how the school can help at the end of the session. So there won't be a refreshment break, but do feel free to get a cup of tea or a drink of water or whatever you need to see you through the session. So I hope that's helpful to you. By way of context, obviously, all the news and everything is about coronavirus at the moment and the lockdown, but we can't ignore the fact that the issues that we were talking about 3 or 4 weeks ago, before all of this became really critical, are not going to go away. So once we're over the worst of this health crisis, climate change is still there. And the whole energy agenda and climate change and greenhouse gas agenda is not going to go away. The social issues that we will face at the end of this will probably get worse. Because we're going to be in a situation where the economic impact of what's happening means that some businesses will close, some people will lose their jobs, people will be suffering hardship. So the way in which we conduct our business to look after people and to deliver greater social value is going to be more important as we go into this new age that we don't quite understand. So very important that we learn while we take the opportunity. And one of the things that we're doing through social media is to say to people, well, if you're locked down, if you're self-isolating or whatever, the school was always set up to be a virtual learning environment. We have, I think, 96 e-learning packages on the school. Take the opportunity to learn some stuff and get yourself fit for the future. So this is the beginning. This is what this session is really all about, to help you to learn from some real experts and some really compelling speakers. And interestingly, when I was talking to Rosie about when we were going to do this as a live event, I think we had 6 speakers, and we'd gone around and we'd chosen the best speakers that we could possibly find around this subject matter for you, from our deep network of partners and people that we work with, and every single speaker was female. And that's, I think, we've been running the school since 2012, and I think it's the first time that we've actually managed to do that. And that wasn't, thinking, well, how can we get some women to speak? It was, how can we find the best people to speak? And in this particular case, all of the best people, other than me, of course, were women. But then I'm just here to introduce the speakers and to run the questions. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jo. I've known Jo for an awful long time. When she was, I'm not sure whether it was a master's or a PhD or something very clever that you were doing, Jo, at Imperial College.
It's my master's, yeah.
It was a master's, right? Okay, yeah. And that was probably longer ago than we both care to remember. So delighted to introduce Jo to talk about the work that she's been doing, looking at social value on infrastructure projects. So, Jo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sean, and good morning, everybody. So, I'm Jo Dobson. I've been working in sustainability in its broadest sense for about 12 years now. And I am an associate at Useful Projects. So we are a sustainability consultancy that supports organisations on transformational change for sustainable development, with a particular focus on climate emergency, sustainable development goals, circular economy and social value. And we're heavily involved in lots of infrastructure projects. We are also a social enterprise, and this research is part funded by Useful Projects as part of our social enterprise status. So, an introduction to the research. Over the past few months, I have been working on a really interesting project for the Institution of Civil Engineers. The ICE is a professional association for civil engineers, and it's got about 93,000 members, and they really represent the infrastructure sector. And the Sustainability Leadership Panel at the ICE really strongly believes that infrastructure projects can and should deliver many more benefits to communities across the UK. So, of course, the fundamental purpose of infrastructure is always to meet societal needs, so to provide public transport or low carbon energy supply, clean water or flood protection. But infrastructure projects present a huge opportunity to deliver much more than that: create local employment, nurture specialist supply chains, improve air quality, remove barriers to social inclusion, and ultimately kind of increase the well-being of individuals and communities. And there has been this long-standing feeling that infrastructure is done to people rather than for people. And the ICE wanted to understand how the sector is starting to address social value. And so this piece of research has been really interesting for me, because we've had the opportunity to delve into that. And the key areas of focus of this have been understanding how people view and understand social value, the different approaches that are taken at the organisational level and at project level, We've had a particular focus on energy, water and transport sectors. We've been looking to highlight best practice. So what does current practice really look like, and trying to flag up where we're seeing really good things happening, so that can provide others in the sector who aren't as progressed with sort of an outline of what is possible and how that's been achieved. A big focus has been unpicking the barriers. There are lots of barriers, and we wanted to unpick those so we can provide some really practical recommendations for how they can be overcome. And the methodology that we have adopted has followed a piece of research by Social Enterprise UK, and it is a multi-method research approach. So lots of desk-based research. We had an industry questionnaire, deep dive interviews. We've had 3 roundtable events. One of those was at the ICE and 2 of those were with the Major Projects Association. And we are at the final stage now, which is preparing the publication, which hopefully will be published next month, but we may well push it back slightly, given everything that's going on with coronavirus. So, back in 2019, the government made a really strong commitment to renew its focus on infrastructure investment and committed £200 billion
Hi, Joe, are you still there?
Okay, it seems we can't hear Joe. Rosie or Sarah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. We can't hear Joe, and she's not doing anything with the slides. Apologies for this, everybody. One of the challenges of the technology. Has somebody got Joe's phone number? Can you give her a call, Rosie or Sarah? Rosie, probably.
Now.
Okay, thank you. We'll give it a couple of minutes and see if we can get Joe back. If not, we'll move on to the next presentation. And then if Joe rejoins, we can go back to Joe. We won't panic. So Joe is saying she can't make herself heard. She's put a message up to say she can't make herself heard.
So Joe is just trying to rejoin, so she's just left the session, but she'll try to rejoin us.
Okay. Yep. So people bear with us for a couple more minutes to see if Joe can rejoin. If not, we'll skip straight through to Kimberly.
Yeah, no problem. Just give me a shout when you want me to start. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, thanks, Kimberly.
Anybody hear me?
We can hear you. Is that Joe?
Yes, it is. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what happened. The internet connection suddenly went very fuzzy. No one could hear me, and I couldn't hear you either.
Okay,
Shall I continue?
Yeah, welcome back, Joe. Yeah, please do continue. We had a contingency plan to skip straight to Kimberly if it was going to take you a while, but yeah, if you're okay to continue, please do so. Thank you.
Okay. Right, I'm apologising here. I can't see the screen. I think you might be better to skip to one of the other speakers if you can hear me.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Joe. Kimberly, I'll advance the slides to your presentation, and then we'll kick off with you if that's okay.
No.
And Joe, if you can get back to the screen, then do let us know. If you type a message through on chat to let us know if you're back, and then we'll go back to you at the end of Kimberly's presentation. So, apologies to everybody for the slight technological difficulties that we're facing at the moment. So I'm just advancing through Joe's slides because I don't know if there's a quicker way of doing this, but if there is, then I don't know it.
Oh, back. That's me.
Oh, back one. Okay. Right. So apologies for that to everybody. And Kimberly, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can all hear me, so do let me know if my speakers don't work at any point in time. So let me just... My name's Kimberly McGinty. I'm the Corporate Social Responsibility Manager for VGC Group, and I've been asked to talk about one specific program that we're delivering called the Go Beyond the Gates, which is supporting serving and ex-offenders. So a little bit of background about VGC. We provide people who deliver projects to the rail and infrastructure industries. So we operate in civils, nuclear, highways, airports, rail and construction. So VGC has a very strong focus on delivering social value in the way we undertake our recruitment and employee management programs. We wanted to ensure that our people can maximise the opportunities that good employment brings to them. So what that essentially means is that we want people to have access to a good job within easy reach of home, to have a diverse workforce which reflects our local cultures and our projects within. We want to have a workforce for the modern world founded on investment in skills and education, to inspire and prepare young people for the world of work, and to help vulnerable people to live independently through economic empowerment. So the way that we do this is through our CSR and recruitment strategy. Now, our CSR strategy focuses around three themes: attracting new recruits to the industry, supporting our existing workforce, supporting the wider communities. And in addition to our normal recruitment and resourcing practices, we focus on trying to attract new entrants to the industry. We've got programs running around ex-military personnel, women, and an extensive schools program. But the program that I'm talking to you today about the social value and what we've constructed is to Go Beyond the Gates. So before I launch into the program itself, I just want to give a few stats and a little context about criminal convictions. We all love a stat in this industry anyway, so I'm sure it won't be too much of a problem. In mid-2018, the UK population stood at 66.4 million. Currently, NACRO estimate that 11 million people in the UK have a criminal record, with 1 in 3 men between 18 to 52 having a criminal record. However, 50% of those are for motoring offences and 70% result in a fine only. Only 10% of convictions result in a prison offence, or prison sentence, sorry. So in the last 30 years, prison population has increased by 82%, and upon release, 27% of them only have secured employment. Reoffending rates are costing the country 18 billion per year, with 66,000 being released in England and Wales. It's imperative that ex-offenders create economic independence quickly. If they don't, there is a real high chance of reoffending. At least 66% of those will reoffend within 2 years, and 44% of adults are reconvicted within a year of release. For those with sentences of less than a year, there is a reoffending rate of 59%. I've lost my place already. Apart from the impact on victims, every prisoner who reoffends costs the criminal justice system an average of £65,000 up to the point of imprisonment, and as much as £37,500 for each year in prison. So this is where our social value ties in. So the estimated reoffending cost to society is 18 billion, and it's been proven that employment reduces reoffending by actually 50%. So helping ex-offenders into employment has a significant and lasting impact on the level and cost of crime to the taxpayer, and goes some way in tackling the social exclusion that's prevalent in the ex-offender community. So why do we do this? Why are we engaging with ex-offenders? VGC want to be a part of creating change in our industry. With 66,000 ex-offenders released each year, there is a huge untapped pool of potential people that we could help bridge that skills shortage that our industry already faces. The recruitment market is becoming tighter, and we therefore need to engage in a more inclusive and targeted way. And from a purely economic point of view, the CIPD estimate that it costs around £2,000 to fill an average non-managerial role. In terms of retaining people, it's been shown that those employed from diverse and disadvantaged backgrounds are more likely to stay within your workforce, with more loyalty to the company who have supported them at their most challenging times. One concern that a number of employers have is that ex-offenders may not be honest or trustworthy. However, over half of employees engaged in some sort of ex-offender programme would rate their attendance positively, and they've shown to be motivated and reliable. Indeed, VGC experience is one of loyalty and commitment from those ex-offenders in our workforce that we are supporting. So how does our programme Go Beyond the Gates work? We're working with a number of excellent charities, including Mind the Gap, Bounce Back, Fairer Chance, Key for Life, Sure Trust, and the probation services. And a key element is getting these candidates work ready whilst they're still serving their sentences. A number of the offenders that we meet have not had an easy start in life. Many of them come from broken homes, the care system, drug or physical abuse, and many are second and third generation unemployed. For many, this is the only lifestyle that they've known, and they each have their own barriers to overcome. And the programmes that are delivered in partnership with the prison provide support across multiple areas. That includes mental health, substance misuse, and managing finances as a small part. VGC provides support around education, training and employment, along with developing their attitudes and their behaviours. We run introduction to construction workshops, employability skills, CV workshops. We interview skills, amongst others, to get them ready for applying for work and transitioning into the workplace. When they're nearing the end of their sentences, we provide recruitment support. We commence identifying suitable roles within their locality and linking them up with labour managers to secure this. We conduct our own risk assessment of each candidate when identifying the correct support and the project. So this includes the nature and the seriousness of the offence, the relevancy of the offence to the role, length of time since the last offence, pattern of offending, age, circumstances, their attitude to the offence, so then and now, and the efforts that they've made to address their past issues. We've also signed up to BITC's Ban the Box, and we've removed this from our initial registration progress. Well, this shows our commitment to considering an applicant's skills, knowledge, experience, and the ability to do the job first and foremost. By continuing to have the disclosure box on initial recruitment form provides the applicant with no opportunity to explain circumstances or show progress since conviction, and it makes it increasingly difficult to get past the initial sift. The The very people that need to get into work, the disadvantaged people, often deselect due to this tick box. And by fully supporting these ex-offenders through the recruitment process, they feel more secure and more confident to present themselves to their best abilities at the interviews. Successful candidates are offered market rates and all the benefits that come from working for a forward-thinking company. However, the support doesn't end there when they commence our employment with us. In fact, we found it key that we support these people in their transition period. Each employer has one-to-one mentoring, catch-up calls and support from our team and labour managers on site. They can help support with issues that they may have on release, such as time off for probation, meetings, curfews, tags, benefits, etc. And in fact, one of our people needed support in rearranging his probation meeting to outside of working hours. Our labour manager supported this request so that it didn't affect his ability to attend site during the required working hours. There are a number of those working for us, whether through ROTL, which is released on temporary licence, or on release, they face a range of mental health issues. And this was prevalent for those that were long-serving sentences and they've come back into mainstream work, sometimes for the first time. So it's important that they have access to your mental health first aider. We also regularly review opportunities for upskilling, training and apprenticeships, but we cannot do this alone. So we've built up a wide range of support with charities, social enterprises to help us with this journey and tackle the issues that have raised. So we just want to go through a couple of case studies of a couple of the people that work for us at VGC. So the first one is Joe. All the names obviously have been changed to protect their identity. The photos are not of them. We like to make sure that they are a VGC employer when they start with us and they don't have that shroud of being an ex-offender. So realistically, your labour manager would be the only person that knows that you've got offence to be able to manage that, and one person within our client's site. So this is Joe. We met Joe in August of 2019 at a careers fair in a prison. Joe had no previous history and he was incarcerated for GBH after being attacked at a hockey match. Joe had explained his concerns to me that he would be unemployable upon release. He had a wife, 3 young children at home to provide for, and Joe worked at Heathrow for over 10 years and worried for his family's future, as he knew that a conviction would mean that he would not be able to go back to his original job. So whilst in prison, Joe had gained his CSCS card, and upon day of release, he contacted VGC immediately. Joe started on site with us the following week as a general op on about £10.50 an hour. And he rapidly became an invaluable member of the team. We put him through plant and vehicle marshal training, which meant a further pay rise. And site have now promoted him again. So Joe is now earning £13 an hour, which was more than his previous role at Heathrow, and he's become a real valuable member of the team. We spoke to his foreman to advise that he had to report to probation every Tuesday, which was supported. But it can be a hindrance when having to run teams for a project. But we were able to discuss Joe's issue with probation, and they were happy to change this to weekends and evenings. Joe is really happy on site after being promoted within only 4 months. Shows that if you're committed, the industry is happy to support your rehabilitation. His labour manager is now discussing with the project further career development, including more tickets such as jumper roller driver. The second person we're talking about is Philip. So Philip was referred to us through some of the prisons that we work with currently. Completed his CSCS card whilst he was incarcerated, and he really wanted to change his life. He was serving 2 years for a drug offence, and he was only 23 when we offered him the role on site as a general operative. He's now since worked overtime, proved himself to his site manager, and was keen for VGC to support his further training. He's now a ganger, and he's going to be currently moved on to one of our HS2 sites nearer to his home. So to date, since 2019, when we were really working through this programme, we've worked with currently 19 prisons. We have got 36 ex-offenders placed into employment with us, and they're now in sustainable employment. Some of them are still within the prison system, so they're released on temporary licence, but some of them are completely released as a free man and woman. We've supported just over 1,500 offenders now, and a lot of them, 185, have gone on to interviews, not just with us, but a number of our Tier 1 contacts. And we have a 0 reoffending rate, which is really great. So through attending career events within the prisons, it was noted that a number of our tier 1 contractors were attending the same events with a couple of jobs. And with around 30, 40 people attending these events within the prison, each employer was only able to offer a few jobs, and it didn't make sense to continue, as we tend to do in this industry, to work in silos. So through VGC, Costain and SCS Railways delivering HS2, we decided to form the IEF, which is the Infrastructure Employment Forum. And that's ensuring that we attend events with a wide range of roles within the prisons and offer ultimately a larger voice on this agenda. So when you've got the tier 1s all talking the same language, we're able to talk louder, we're able to talk wider with much more jobs available for a lot of these people to be able to change their lives. As you can see from the slide, we've got a lot of people now joined us. Danny Sullivan's is one of our supporters with Mace, Costain, Crossrail, Kia, Highways England, Tideway have all jumped on board and want to do their side of things to be able to support the agenda. So the IIF, it provides a national collaborative recruitment and education gateway within the construction industry for those with criminal convictions. The idea behind this is to remove the stigma, reduce reoffending and recycle lives. Collectively, we're aiming to create more opportunities for ex-offenders to gain long-term sustainable employment where they can achieve personal satisfaction, economic independence and positively contribute to their society. We're ensuring that we've got a joined-up approach to supporting ex-offenders during reintegration to society, and we're sharing best practice amongst us, aiming to scale projects together to work and provide industry sustainability. So moving forward, we currently have 12, I think it's 13, 14 now signed up to support us. As you saw from the previous slide, they've committed to attending events with live vacancies and agreeing to support those into sustainable employment, albeit that be work experience to begin with, or suitable employment on their sites. It's got to last 18 months plus for it to be sustainable, and committing to at least 3 roles that they can offer. The Ministry of Justice, New Futures Network are also supporting our work alongside various education, probation, housing and DWP. So with their support, those candidates that we meet along the way have various needs with rehoming, benefits, relevant tickets, etc. We're able to signpost them before release to our supporters, which then ensures that they are ready for release once they come through those gates. And in turn, we can support their needs, be it with events, filling urgent roles, mentoring and workforce development to the tier 1s that have come on board with us on the IEF. So if we go back to VGC and delivering social value, and we go back to one of the other slides and attempt to sum up, VGC are committed to providing good and sustainable employment to all of our people. And we understand that there are some people in society that may require additional support to access these opportunities. However, social value can be achieved through working through a little more targeted to achieve this. So our ex-offender support is helping people to live independently, to live close to home, increasing the diversity of our own workforce, and we're investing in their skills, working collaborative with the industry to achieve this. So it's calculated that to support an ex-offender into sustainable work, values between 14 to 18k, circumstances and age dependent. At the moment, Tom's was putting that as under 24, but they have recalculated that. So we're doing some work behind the scenes to see what does that look like for our VGC CSR programs at the moment. Now, if you add to that reoffending currently costing the taxpayer £18 billion a year, and factor in that homelessness, which 33% of offenders are facing, can cost £1 billion as well, this is a huge impact with this demographic alone. So we're delivering social value in 2020, calculating these figures and a return on investment to society through our TOMs. And that is us. Those are the values that we underpin VGC as a whole. That's our Go Beyond the Gates programme. So if anybody has any kind of questions they'd like me to answer, then I'm happy to do so. But thanks for letting me talk this morning.
Kimberly, thanks very much for that excellent presentation and a great case study. Unfortunately, we've heard from Jo. She seems to have some problems with a broadband connection at home, so we're going to have to pick up with Jo another time. What I would say as well to the people listening, and thanks to all of you for joining, we are recording this session and we will be putting it up on the school website, and then we'll find another way of hearing from Jo. We'll either record a session with her or we'll invite her along to a future webinar. Kimberly, I've a few questions, if I may.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. I mean, I know from working with a number of clients and partners that do this, the amount of effort required to one-to-one mentor and help ex-offenders, or indeed people that are long-term unemployed, is quite significant.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the business case for this in terms of the cost of the effort that you need to put in versus the value to your business? Because I think the 14 to 18k you were talking about, is that a calculation of the social value using Tom's?
Yeah.
Or is that the net? So what's the net value to VGC? Do you see a sound business case in doing this?
Well, I mean, absolutely. At the moment, what we're trying to do is do a 2020 business case of the programs that we've put together. This program's only been running for the 18 months, realistically, just over 18 months. So at the moment, it was, let's see how this program works, what needs to be in place. I think the key behind this is retention. It's really well putting this together, but if you're not retaining these people, it's not a program. So in order for you to have a proper program that is working, you need to have the mentoring and the mental health and the support there. Yeah. It's a case-by-case basis. Some people come out of prison, you have a catch-up call with them once a week and that filters off, and some don't want to hear from you ever again and just let's leave them alone. But some need a bit more hand-holding. So we are looking into putting that model together of how much it costs to VGC to how much it comes out of social value. But that Tom's was last year's figures before they changed them, and those were under 24s. So we're hoping that they're going to change that with the age bracket.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we would love to invite you back to present that business case, because intuitively, I'm sure it's there, because I think we all understand the cost of employing people, and the cost of recruitment and training people, etc. So if you can get good retention rates from ex-offenders, that there must be some monetary value in there. You used a couple of expressions that our audience might not necessarily be familiar with. One is Tom's and the other one is ban the box. Would you like to explain a little bit more what those two things are?
So Tom's is a national, I believe, framework. We're calculating specific areas of social value. So that ranges from your school engagement to unemployed people in the area, that sort of thing. So that's how we were calculating. When we were dipping our toe in the social value areas, we used them as our calculator. The other one, BITCs, that's business in the community, released ban the box. So from your initial recruitment page, when people are filling in the forms, you have a small box to declare whether you have a criminal offence. So that it hinders people from completing that form and sending it off to you, because they think that they are tarred with the ex-offender brush and you're not going to get a foot in the door. Some people that haven't had that kind of ex-offender training within an organisation will still have those conscious biases. I was one myself when I first started. So until you've really delved into that and it's stopping people from coming through, and it's stopping them from your initial sift as well from coming through. And what you are doing is you're just putting aside a big group of people that do have the skills and they do have the education. They're not just from those demographics that I was talking about. I've got guys that work for us that have come straight out of university with really good degrees in geography, etc., and have had an issue and have had made an example of. So we decided to take that off of our initial sift, our initial recruitment process. And so you can sign up with Ban the Box with BI. Right. You get in touch with them and they will walk you through how to do that.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've got a couple of questions coming through. I've got one from Marlene Boateng and one from Carmen Harris, and they're both similar in many ways. So does this program form part of your wider business HR and recruitment strategy? And then there's another question. I wonder how you support your people internally to have the skills to support new entrants as they have specific needs, which I think feeds on a little bit from your answer to the last question. Would you like to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, so these are our CSR programs that we run. So our CSR programs are supporting the underrepresented groups, so ex-offenders, women, etc. So they've all got specific programs. So it's sort of, it runs alongside our normal recruitment programs that we already run. So I work very closely with all the projects and with our labour managers, who are extremely supportive of all the programs that we run from a CSR perspective. When it comes to their support and their guidance, they do have training. All of our managers have mental health. We've got a lot of mental health first aiders within site as well, our champions, as well as our labour managers have mentoring. They have a lot of guidance, and I run through a lot of things with them as well if they've got any issues. But I do a lot of the mentoring myself. So when they first start on site, I have a catch up with them. I go and meet them face to face. We then do weekly calls, and then that breaks down to monthly, fortnightly, whatever they're comfortable with. So they all have a bit of a bespoke program dependent on the person. And then the labour managers catch up with them every day that they're on site and check in that they're okay. And if there's any issues, that gets raised to me.
Brilliant. So it sounds like this is a whole company culture thing, isn't it? It's not just a small group of people that have had some special training. It feels like it's something that's right across the board in your business.
Yes, it is. We've all bought into this, and it's not just for the ex-offenders. This would be for our new entrants to the industry. They would get this kind of program as well. NEETs, young people, graduates, apprentices, they all kind of get that kind of bespoke as well. So it's not just specific to ex-offenders. We do that for new entrants. But yeah, it is. It's underpinned with everything that we do. It's part of our company values, where we look after each other, so that we can all reach our potential.
Okay, and again, a follow-up question we have from Sarah Chatfield. Is your focus on blue-collar jobs for ex-offenders, or do you also have white-collar roles?
We have a number of white-collar roles. The ones that we specifically find for ex-offenders that are looking for white-collar, they mainly get filtered to our tier ones. So logistics teams and our tier ones have taken people that we've met. But because we do this as a big group as well with the events, we signpost to each other. So we do have them within our company as well, but our tier ones tend to have a lot more than VGC do. So we tend to just post them and refer them on. And they've done really well too. Yeah,
excellent. And there's another question from Gemma Goulet. What geography does this cover? Is this a national programme or in specific geographical areas?
So we're pan-London at the moment. We've started to work with HMP Birmingham. It's just where our projects have the most work at present. So we've moved up to Birmingham, where we supported Mind the Gap programme with Dominic Headley and with Maggie. So we've moved up to there because we now have programmes up there, but we would look further north as we have the work.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got a number of people saying what a great presentation it was, so thank you very much for that. And also some people asking for your contact details. Is it okay with you if we pass them on?
Absolutely, yeah, no problem at all.
Great, thank you, because we clearly have a great deal of interest in this programme, and some people obviously want to talk to you in a little bit more detail. So I think I'm just going to have a quick scan through the questions. So I think that's covered just about everything. I want to have a look at my own questions as well, but I think we've covered everything off. So yeah, that's I guess another kind of open question from my point of view. I'm really interested in the collaboration through your infrastructure employment forum, and possibly not a question for now, but just how can the school help? I mean, I know, VGC are very strong partners in the school, and you know us very well, and we have great reach to an awful lot of organisations and people. So something that we might be able to discuss is obviously we've helped by publicising what you do here, and we'll record this session. But if there's anything more we can do to work more closely with this group, and I'm thinking things like our People Matter Charter, where we're trying to influence the industry to provide better employment conditions across the board. It feels to me like there might be an opportunity to join those things up.
Yeah, wonderful. I think it's just getting the message out that, first of all, it's breaking down those conscious biases, and the people that you're meeting are skilled workers, are hard workers. You're not necessarily going to meet people that are going to let you down. People are people. Getting the message out there that you can be part of this, and it does work well. And yes, it does take some time, but as you've seen, we've put the work into it, and we've come together as an actual company to pull this together to support it. If you're all supporting it, and the support's got to come from higher up, so our group services directors, our company and project directors are all very supportive of this agenda, which means it filters down, and that is so key. And I think it's just continuously talking about it, talking about the events that we're going to. VGC have run our own ones within the prisons now, and that's worked really well. So we're going to continue to do that for 2020 when we're allowed out the house. So for those that want to attend and want to come and be part of that, we'd be thrilled to work together. So it's getting as many people into sustainable work as possible. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kimberly. That was a really helpful case study, and we can see from the feedback that people really enjoyed that and are very interested in getting further involved. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Evelyn to talk about social value from a perspective of Danny Sullivan Group, and specifically around HS2. So, over to you.
Hello, I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Evelyn Flynn, and I work for Danny Sullivan Group. Just to give you a bit of a background of what Danny Sullivan, so we're a labour supply company, and we've been working across the business for over 30 years. And the main sectors that we work on is aviation, highways, tunnelling, utilities, rail and nuclear. And we very much have a family value feel to with our people. We've got over 1,500 people that are directly employed, but we very much live by our values. And I think it's never been more evident this current climate, how we've all had to kind of pull together act ethically and responsibly, provide a culture and care of support for our people at the moment, especially with COVID-19 in play. And a lot of us collaborate and communicate and strive for excellence. But I kind of wanted to explain on how our journey started, because only a couple of years ago, we didn't have a CSR department. These government projects, social value has moved very rapidly across the industry, especially in infrastructure. And there might be a lot of organizations that maybe don't know where to start, or how could they have social impact, or how could they add social value across their business. So I thought I'd break it down on how we started. And us being a labour supply, and the people are at the core of everything we do, we broke it down in economically, socially and environmentally. And where do we think that we could add value to organisations, where we could add value to the projects that we work on? Obviously, employment would be a big one. Education, where we can have apprentices on site, working with the community, and obviously the local supply chains and SME. In terms socially, obviously making sure that we've got great workplace culture, making sure that we have a diverse and inclusive workforce, support our people through health and well-being, supporting vulnerable and underrepresented groups, as well as working with charities and volunteering. But often we work under management and supervision of the clients. So a lot of the time, environmental aspects of social value, we may not be able to have a massive impact, but we work alongside our clients and key stakeholders and see where we can help in terms of sustainability by measuring carbon. We've got a fleet of vehicles, so trying minimising congestion and as well green spaces. So that's how we broke it down to see where we could do and what plan we could put together. So from that, I think it's never been more important that we have a workforce strategy in place to meet the needs in terms of recruitment, selection, training, development and retention. So we got together, we have a steering group so where we could add value and what aspects for us as people across our businesses where we could add value. So we started, another thing I want to add as well, I think people might think, is this going to be very costly to the business, and do we have enough resources? A lot of the initiatives that we've invested in didn't cost anything. It was all to do with maybe the resources we have and the people that we have to help. And a lot of it is collaboration as well. But for us, I think women and gender and increasing the percentage of women on site was a very, very key aspect for us. So we've joined up with women into construction. We've had a lot of really successful outcomes from working with that. As well, making sure that we've good, robust vetting processes, having a recruitment system that would minimise the risk of modern slavery, ensure that our people are paid properly, and what we did as well was work with ELS and just to ensure that we minimise the risk of modern slavery across our businesses. Now, something we're very, very proud of is our apprenticeship programme. And I think when the CITB levy came into play, it was a bit of a minefield for people. And I think a lot of businesses thought it was more or less a tax because a lot of money had went into it. But going through all the legislation, what we did was set up an apprenticeship programme, and we call it career development programmes. So for an example, working on HS2, if we have people coming in as ground workers, we want them to put a really good career pathway in place that maybe they might go in as a ground worker, but they could come out as a supervisor or a manager and have really good skills and knowledge. And we're very, very happy. We actually had, out of the 176 apprentices, 72 of them have completed their year and were being certified, but we were hopefully due to have a celebration, but obviously that's been postponed now with coronavirus, but hopefully we'll be able to celebrate soon. But these people, I think it's very important to note, it's great having apprentices on board and them being registered, but the key factor is ensuring that these apprentices have secure employment, sustainable employment, and that they actually come and finish their programme. So that's a very key aspect for us. So 85% of those apprentices have got sustainable employment, and that is another key, is collaborating with the people that we work on and our clients on site to ensure if a job was to end, that we can move them on someplace else, because it's a key aspect in terms of utilising the apprenticeship levy. Also as well, I think it's across the board, we've come on leaps and bounds in terms of mental health, and it's really becoming to the forefront, and it's something that we're discussing more regularly across our industry, and rightly so. But another aspect of that didn't cost money was working with Mental Health First Aid England. We now have coaches working for Danny Sullivan Group, and not only do they train our people, but we train the whole of the supply chain, raising knowledge and raising awareness across the industry to look after your mental health. Another key aspect, STEM learning. I think it's so important that we promote the industry and the next generation coming up and make the industry an attractive career for people. So STEM is very, very important. We're partners with the school, and the amount of help and assistance and resources available from the school is just invaluable. I think even just for a prime example, sitting on the Labour group and what we've achieved in terms of the charter and the People Matter Charter is absolutely fantastic. And I suppose living by the commitments with EDI, skills and training, workforce culture, the living wage, due diligence, labour requirements, labour exploitation and payments, all this is interlinked, and we want to ensure that we have good people practices across our industry. And being signatories of the charter, we're very, very proud of that, and we really want to promote it across the industry. Another initiative that the school helped us with was our Be Fair and our Fair ambassadors, and it's just something I want to talk about next about the CITB Be Fair accreditation. We're very proud. We're the first UK labour supplier to have actually achieved this accreditation. And that was what helped with the school. They've helped us with all the resources online, and we've trained our Be Fair ambassadors, but we wanted to do one step further. So we formed a first steering group, and we have a 3-year strategic plan in place, and it's top down, and we just want to ensure leadership and commitment and cultivate a culture of support and an inclusive culture across the industry, and as well, and build and maintain a diverse workforce. I think identifying and attracting and retaining these people will be so important for us in the future and with the pipeline of works ahead. So an example of all this EDI and where we've added value, and this is a collaborative approach as well, but from that and from our initiatives that we, as part of our workforce strategic planning, we've done a lot of work with Women into Construction, so part of their Moving On Up programme. So they're on courses, we have 5 people completing that, 5 women, and it's absolutely fantastic course. And again, that's open to people across the industry. So if you want to get involved, if your organisation is interested in that, Women in Construction would be fantastic to help you facilitate that. As well, just an example was ex-military, fantastic initiative that I think people that have worked in the military have unbelievable transferable skills. An example of that, we had a cohort come through, but a lot of them were like big HGV drivers, military drivers. So we utilised our CITB levy again, put them on training courses for plant and operations. And from that, we've had 5 people from the ex-military working across sites in the UK. From that, we've got the Bronze Armed Forces Covenant Award. As well, the ex-offender programme, Kim mentioned about the IEF, which we're huge supporters of, as well, modern slavery, the People Matter Charter, as I said, which is a fantastic initiative, and as well our homeless campaign, which I'll talk about specifically soon, and how we worked well and collaborated with HS2 on that. But something I wanted to note and discuss with you is how important the reporting has come into play in terms of monetisation of social value. And I think in order to understand where real social value change can be delivered, I think it's essential that we report and monetize the actual reductions in the public spend. And I think social impacts are the effects of like activities or services and the social fabric of the community and the well-being of individuals and families. So, for example, this could be done in terms of sustainability, community, diversity. And I think by improving social conditions, like it's the impacts and the reduced pressures on the public sector are huge. So for an example of this, if we tackle homelessness, for example, not only are these benefit the lives of the individuals, but it has lower incidence on hospitals, prison admissions, benefit payments, etc. So I think it's very important that we report what we do. So an example of the reporting, we have our own internal demographic data and performance reports, which we do quarterly, but now we're required for all the infrastructure projects that we work on, we have to report in terms of monitoring, apprenticeships, worklessness, and what we've been doing and adding value. And I think it's coming into play an awful lot. And we mentioned about the TOMs. So I think it's kind of worth noting that, making sure that you have the data and that it is monitored, because a lot of the time we have to feed that back up to the client. But I wanted to give you an example what we've done and how HS2 have taken on homelessness. Because we started working on the project in HS2, we started looking at the communities and the areas around and where we feel that we could leave a lasting legacy in the areas that we operate. But just to set the scene in terms of homelessness, when I was doing a lot of meetings and around Houston, it was very, very apparent that the homelessness was rampant in the Camden area. And for the 7th year in a row, the number of people rough sleeping across England has increased. In the borough of Camden, it has the 2nd highest number of recorded rough sleepers in London, with the numbers rising to 784 from the report. And those sleeping rough on the streets are exposed to challenges, sub-zero temperatures, violence and abuse, and as well as that, fatal illnesses. Rough sleepers are 17 times more likely to be a victim of violence and twice as likely to die from infections and 9 times more likely to commit suicide. These stats don't factor in the hidden homelessness, especially young people who are unable to find a permanent place to stay Because of that, they can afford soaring rent and costs and house prices. So from that, and from looking around in the areas, we really felt very compelled, and we really wanted to get involved, not just because of the project, but we found a charity called C4WS, and we got in contact with them and discussed, and they had every Wednesday had a jobs club. So that jobs club was getting the service users their work already, helping them with their CV, do mock interviews, and these people were trying to get back on their feet, and they're actively looking for work again, and they were ready for work. So every Wednesday, we all volunteered separately each week to go down and help them. So some of it was helping with their CSCS cards, and we worked closely with the service users to get them work already. But one person in particular, his name is Naam, and he's a huge, we're so proud of him, but we got in contact with him, and we approached HS2 about what we were doing, and they completely, they really invested in us. So if we was ready for work, he had his CSCS. We again utilised our CITB levy to help him. We've set him up on a pre-employment programme. And from that, he ended up getting a job on HS2. So when I came to Louise to discuss this initiative and see would she be interested in joining up, HS2 were on a similar route as well, and they really thought it was a fantastic initiative. So that's how we got involved. But from then, it's really expanded, and we're now working with a charity called Buses for Homeless. And this is just a picture of the site. So this site is actually at HS2, and these buses have been refurbished into offices, kitchen areas, there's showers. So these people, this is living accommodation, and HS2 have given them a site in North Acton where they've been staying and studying, getting work already. From that, again, back to collaboration, we have been working with other people who've been on the project from the supply chain. And from that, we went again, helped them with their CSCS tickets, did pre-employment. And now 4 of these people are just getting ready to start on HS2. And it's just a fantastic kind of journey that these people have been on now, that they're going into sustainable employment. And it's just the fact that the infrastructure in HS2 that have taken this on board, and it's just been a fantastic journey for them. So this is an example, and we're about collaboration. So that our VGC are involved, and these are people that have been work already now to go start on site. Yeah, there we go. Has anybody got any questions?
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's a great presentation. I really enjoyed that. I actually had it's a question that popped up at the end of the last presentation. I think it's probably relevant to both, actually. It's from Richard Howell, and Kimberly, if you're still there, please do feel free to chip in. Yeah. What would be your biggest request to Tier 1s to enable better progress? What can they do to help you?
For me, I think it's the collaboration piece. It's often, thing is, there's often a lot of client requirements, and that's coming down, you know, to hit these social value targets and whatnot. There's often times where we come and we're hoping, because we're trying to fill the target, it's not about the targets because it's just the right thing to do. But maybe when we come to a point where there is, I think, providing jobs and sustainable careers for these people is key. So if there are people that are work already, I just think it's great if there's collaboration from the client to ensure that we get these people working and put into sustainable employment.
Okay, so it's that joining up and collaboration and working together. Kimberly, do you have anything to add to that, if you're still online with us?
Still here, yeah. I'd agree with everything that Evelyn said, to be fair. I think if we're talking ex-offender side of things, I think it is key that they understand and they support it and they get there. It's really important that you get your works managers to talk the same talk as your project managers and your project directors. I think sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect. And so the work that we're all trying to do, social value, CSR, EDI-wise, we kind of hit a bit of a stalemate sometimes, because it only goes as far as your works manager, and your works manager doesn't create a role for them or doesn't support a role for them. That's not all across the board. Now, I'm not, that's just a generalization, but I think it is key that everybody is talking the same language and everybody is supporting that. It makes it a lot easier for those new entrants to come work for you on site, whether it be the homeless people, whether it be the ex-offenders, or just generally new entrants, new young people. Everybody needs to be collaborating and supporting those agendas.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So we've kind of heard from both of you. I think the message has come across loud and clear that this is something that's business as usual for both of you, and it seems to be kind of imbibed in the whole organisation that this is what you do. But clearly, it's not just about you. There's a whole supply chain above you and below you that needs to get this message. So it feels to me like a bit of a work in progress and much more to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and thanks very much to Richard for that question. I think that was a cracker, a really good one that we can end on. I just have one more question, really, for possibly for both of you. You both mentioned the apprenticeship levy and the challenges that were presented by the apprenticeship levy originally, and it feels to me like you feel that you've made some progress in overcoming them. Would either or both of you like to just share a little bit more what you've done to achieve that?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think because at the start it was really a minefield. I think people were kind of fearful. They didn't really know what best route to take. For us, I think is partnering up with a training company that kind of have the same values and the same ethos as us. We've put bespoke training packages in place. So you can come in level 2, right up to level 4 or 5 management in the built environment. But not only that, it's just making career pathways for these people, and kind of just to kind of suit what working with the client again is see what forecast, what type of work and what type of work is needed across the site as well, and just making sure that the learning is done, because a lot of there's 20% off the job, and this is where the site can help massively as well. Often we're working to strict deadlines, and even though we really do want apprentices on site, it's very important that you work together to make sure that the learning does take place and that the people do end up coming out with their apprenticeships. But not often is that feasible when you know the way the industry is, that it can be worked to tight deadlines. So I think again, collaboration is key for that, for the success rate of the apprentices.
Okay, thank you. Kimberly, anything to add to that?
I would echo exactly the same sort of thing. I mean, we did have our pitfalls, as every company does, but we're striving to ensure that they have the right support, and it's going back to the same sort of programs that we put in place for each and every percent. They've got the support, the mentoring, etc. So that kind of cascades really through most of our programs.
So it's about commitment then, isn't it? And again, across the business, and actually, and this is a subject that I'm particularly passionate about, because many years ago I was a craft apprentice, and even though we run a very small business, Rosie, who's mediating the session today, we took on as an apprentice a few years ago, and that's been a great success. So it's really important that we do that. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions coming through from the audience about the buses for homeless getting ready for work. Does that include accommodation? So
they're actually living on that site. They've refurbed the buses. They're absolutely fantastic. We went up and took a tour. So the facilities are there for them, and I think that's just a kind of a short term until they get into sustainable employment, and they kind of want this, as the progression happens and they start working, that we'll have more people coming in. But it's been absolutely fantastic, and just for HS2 even to allow them to have the site there, and it's their community space, it's their home, and what they've done is absolutely outstanding.
Brilliant, thank you. And I have a question for Sarah Chatfield. And this, whenever there's a question that says tricky question, perhaps, you know, it always always fascinates me. HS2 has been a controversial project, particularly relevant to this conversation is the environmental impact and impact on communities through displacement. Is your aim to counteract the impacts of HS2 or just deliver as much social value as possible?
Well, I think that's a question for HS2, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Also, we provide the people, and these are the core of everything we do. If we can add value and add positive social impact through supplying labour, we will do, but that's something I think HS2 would have to discuss.
Yeah, I think, but HS2 are partners in the school, so we'll maybe ask them that question next time we can get them on to an event. So that's fantastic. Okay, so I think I'll just leave a little bit of a gap if anybody wants to type in any final questions, and I think. Yeah, I think I've covered the questions that I had. So let's just see if anybody else comes through. Oh, okay. So one from John Gill. I think the ban the box approach applies to other employment aspects. Are there similar campaigns for diversity as well, for example? Would either of you like to pick that up?
Well, just to give you an example as well, and Kim can echo this, a lot has changed in terms of ensuring that we have diversity and inclusivity across projects. A prime example of that is now there's KPIs associated with the projects that we're working on, and that actually has financial implications if you don't achieve them. So, for example, we have KPIs around worklessness, around gender, so increasing the percentage of women on site in terms of apprenticeships. So not only if we don't achieve them, us as businesses won't get our profit. So I think that, and a lot of the government projects now are starting to do that just to ensure that there is a positive change and a positive impact that we can see. So it's not just because it's the right thing to do anymore. That it's really important that we actually make a change across the industry.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think as well, you mentioned the People Matter Charter, which is obviously something close to our heart because it's something that we run through the supply chain school. That's another area where what we've tried to do is to kind of wrap in a number of these issues, the whole kind of social value police and modern slavery and fairness, inclusion and respect, etc. We've tried to pull together into a very simple charter that people can follow, and that's proved to be really popular. We've got over 50 signatories to that charter now, and it's certainly something that the supply chain school is committed to working with partners such as the ones that you've heard and others into to really kind of driving that through the tiers of the supply chain, and particularly the smaller businesses that employ people, because you've heard from two quite large labour supply contractors clearly very, very committed to this agenda, but what we recognise that a lot of employment is through smaller businesses that are delivering these services, and we need to find ways of influencing and getting to them. Okay, so thank you very much to both of our speakers. From the feedback we're getting online, that was fantastic, and I think just what we were looking for. There is, I'll just remind everybody that when you drop off the call at the end, there will be a feedback form. Please do fill it in, because we're very interested in hearing what you think of the event. So I think we've kind of covered the questions and answers. What I'd like to do now is just to take the stage for 10 minutes or so to talk about the supply chain school and what we do and how the school might be able to help. So some of you may be fairly familiar with the school, some of you on the call may not. So bear with me and indulge me for a couple of minutes while I take you through the slides. Supply Chain School is something that we founded in 2012. It was initially Skanska came to us and said that in order to achieve our challenge to be the most sustainable construction company in the world, we recognise that we need to upskill our supply chain. And our supply chain is very deep and very wide and very complicated, and we don't know how to develop the skills and the capacity that we need to deliver on our ambitions and our clients' ambitions. So they came to my small business originally, Action Sustainability, as consultants to say, how can we do that? To cut a long story short, we started the school. We started the school with 7 partners. We gave ourselves an objective to get 600 people learning in the first year of the school in a virtual learning environment. We actually got 3,000. We thought, well, we must be onto something here. And it's been a great success ever since. So our challenge for today, you've heard, is very much about social value, but the school covers all aspects of sustainability and other subjects as well. So you see here, I guess most of you are familiar with this sort of Venn diagram of environmental, social and economic sustainability. We cover all of that subject matter, and also we cover other subjects as well in the school now. So we're not just about sustainability anymore. We've got a whole range of other things that we do. I think you've already heard from the speakers the imperative for doing this now, because client demand is coming down the tubes, and you've heard both speakers saying, there are KPIs, there are financial incentives and penalties to doing this. Now, I've been around sustainability and supply chains for, 15 years or so now. And back in the day when I was first doing it, it was all about risk. It wasn't something that clients were asking for. It wasn't something necessarily that civil society was expecting. And that's changed. That's changed a lot. And the current crisis, as I said in the introduction, is not going to make that go away. So that there is this tension through supply chains, driven by legislation, driven by clients, through the tier ones into the multiple tiers of the industry. And you've heard from some of the tier twos today, and we'll get Jo back at some point to give us a presentation on her broader findings to set the scene a little bit. So this is the school. This is what the supply chain school can do to help. You can go online, you can pick up literally hundreds of learning opportunities through the school. The new web platform that we introduced last October, very timely as it turned out, is awesome. It's very, very easy to negotiate your way around. You can do a self-assessment and get an action plan, or you can simply search for the resources that you need. And you can see here from the slide, this is what the resources look like. If you click on the Read More tab, then you can start to understand what that resource is, what it does for you. We also have like a TripAdvisor rating type thing on each of the resources now, so we can start to understand how we can do things in a better way. So we go into, you can find e-learning, you can find videos, you can find papers, you can find all sorts of information. As you can see, quite a wide diversity of information on social value for you. So the school is a common approach to assessing competence, to developing knowledge. That's what we do. Up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were a mixed, blended learning program where a lot of what we deliver is online, through e-learning, through video, through self-assessment and that sort of thing. But we delivered over 300 events a year. That, of course, now in the coronavirus situation is very challenging for us, and we're starting to move those events to 100% online at this moment in time, and then we'll go back once the problem is under control, to delivering live events. But I think this crisis and the way that we're learning our way into using the technology will change things quite significantly. So these are our partners. I'm not going to read out every logo to you, but what you can see there is a very rich mixture of clients, of tier ones, of suppliers, of specialist subcontractors such as those that you've heard from, that give us an enormous amount of power to actually change things and do things, as well as just to provide learning and training. So you can go through a process as a member to join the school as a member. Everything we deliver on the school is free of charge at the point of use. So we will not ask our members for money. The 96 partners that I mentioned earlier, they do all make a financial social contribution, and then we leverage funding from organisations like CITB. So if you're joining and you don't know where to start, you can do a self-assessment. That self-assessment is tailored to the category of supply that you're in. It will ask you about your knowledge level of various subject matters, and then it will give you an action plan of 10 things. So it will pop up, you get an action plan online, you have a homepage online where you get your own dashboard, so you understand exactly where you are, what resources you've accessed. You can download your report for CPD purposes. You can have a company action plan, you can allocate actions to people, and you can monitor what they're doing. So there's an enormous range of flexibility now around the new site. We now have 5 topic areas. We're still called the Supply Chain Sustainability School, which is still really, I guess, our core product. But we also have learning on general management skills. We have learning on off-site construction. We have learning on lean construction and also on BIM. We've recently been awarded 2 contracts from CITB, a total value of £1.5 million over 3 years, so quite substantial contracts, to deliver some new learning on upskilling the industry in procurement and also in digital skills. So you'll start to see on the website now where we're building working groups to develop the content around procurement and digital, and we'll be rolling those out towards the end of the calendar year. So I think increasingly we're seeing the school as a route to market for learning, and it can be learning about almost anything. So it really is starting to become the go-to place in the industry for learning. And in the current circumstances, because we deliver such quality online, it's really beneficial to the industry now for those people that are maybe not working, or working remotely or self-isolating, to be able to get on the school and learn some stuff. And certainly we've seen from the statistics that we get on the back end of the school that there's certainly been no downturn. If anything, the amount of access that we have to the school has increased quite significantly, and also access over weekends. We're seeing people learning at the weekend and maybe being a bit flexible around when they work and when they don't work. For those people now who are working at home. So a variety of different resources. As I say, events at the moment are all virtual, like this one. And we'd be fascinated to hear your feedback, what you thought of it. A lot of e-learning, a lot of the Fairness, Inclusion and Respect program is part of the school that the speakers mentioned. We also have toolbox talks, very short videos, 90-second videos that you can actually do as part of a toolbox talk, and engage workforces in conversations. So everything from really, really bite-sized learning to e-learning packages that can be anything from 30 minutes to an hour with a little test at the end. The more recent e-learning packages where we're trying to get to 30 to 40 minutes, because we think that's about the limit of people's attention spans. All of the workshops, including this one, and all of the learning packages we deliver are accredited by the Office of Continuous Professional Development. That means if you are part of a professional institution, it counts towards your CPD, and you can download a personal report that shows what resources you've accessed through the school. So it's really, really easy to be able to report back to your institution around your CPD. You can have a corporate dashboard or an individual dashboard. So members can actually set up an administrator role where they can do the self-assessment for the business and get a business action plan, or you can sign on the school as an individual and do your own action plan. Administrators can allocate learning resources to individuals. So they might say, I want everybody in my HR department to learn about modern slavery, for instance. So I can allocate some modern slavery resources to those people, and I can track whether they've done it. I can track whether they passed the test at the end of the e-learning. So it really is, if you don't have access to your own learning management system, you can use the school. Equally, if you're a partner in the school rather than a member, but if you're a partner, you can have access to all of the e-learning content or any of the e-learning content on your own learning management system as part of what you pay for to contribute to the school as a partner. We have 17 sustainability topics now. So when we upgraded the technology in the autumn of last year, we also upgraded our thinking around sustainability, because it's very much a moving target, and some of the issues such as social value and modern slavery and those sorts of things are far more prevalent now than when we started the school in 2012. So 17 sustainability topics. Those of you that are members in the school, I noticed from Evelyn's presentation, very proudly gold members of the school. Although the logo's out of date, we've got a new logo now with the new website. The levels of membership in the school is all about how much you're learning. So how active you're being. So as you learn more, as you access more resources, the system will automatically update. And when you go to your corporate dashboard, when your administrator goes to the corporate dashboard, it will give you that logo, whether you're a bronze, silver, or gold member. To be a gold member, you have to give something back. So once you get up to the level of learning that gets you to gold, the team will contact you and say, well, would you like to do something? Would you like to give a presentation on an event such as this? Would you like to maybe record a video case study? Would you like to share something? So we get into this idea of iterative learning. Those of you that are getting to the top of the tree and want to be gold members and want to tell your clients that you're gold members and show off about it, then we actually want you to give something back. We want you to be sharing and learning together. This is very much about developing a community of practice where we can all work together. So everything is CPD accredited. Your self-assessments are confidential, so we do not share your self-assessments with anybody else. So please don't, kind of gild the lily like some people might do when they're doing their PQQs. Tell us honestly what you know about a subject, because that won't be shared by anybody. And the action plan you get then will be a realistic action plan. The box in the middle is probably the most important one. It is free. It will continue to be free. As I said in the introduction, I chair the school, and I'm absolutely determined to keep it that way. We don't want to be adding costs to our partners' supply chains. We want to be adding value. By doing that, yes, we ask our partners for financial contributions. We know that times are going to be tough over the next year, 18 months after this crisis, but we hope our partners will continue to support us. And then we look for funding from organisations like CITB, industry bodies. We've had funding from Innovate UK in the past as well. So we look to leverage those partner contributions so we can continue to deliver everything that we deliver free of charge. We're very, very passionate about that. But does it make a difference? We can produce loads of stats on how many people have learned things, and for instance, I can say there's 48 people on this webinar now. There were 67 when we started, so obviously a bunch have dropped off because they've heard my stuff before, or they've just got bored or whatever. But we do make an impact, and these are actually last year's slides. We're just about to produce our impact report, where we questionnaire all of the members of the school, and we start to ask, have you actually reduced your carbon dioxide emissions? Have you learned more? Do you understand fairness, inclusion, and respect a bit better? Have you learned more about modern slavery, etc.? And you can see from the statistics here, there's some quite compelling numbers, but there's also some quite low numbers. So, 20% improve their knowledge of air quality. Well, we need to do better. So we started our plant group. So these statistics not only enable us to persuade people that there's value in the school, it also helps us to learn what we deliver and how we deliver it. And then we look at impact on businesses. So are you reducing your costs? Are you winning new business? 40% have said they're winning new businesses. And this is from a survey of, I think, 880 businesses have fed back. So it's quite a significant sample. So we can really start to see that we're making a difference to our membership, and that's the most important thing to us. So that winds up my presentation, just a very quick gallop through the school and what it is and what it does. If any of you are on the call today and you're not a member of the school, then please join. It's very easy just to go to the website, and we ask you for a bit of detail about your business and who you are, etc. And then you can access all of the resources for free. When we close this presentation, you will be getting a feedback form that you can all fill in. Please do it. As I say, your feedback is more important to us than it's ever been before. Thanks very much to Rosie, who's on the call and has been in the background. We've obviously had to ask our team to move from you know, putting together agendas, getting speakers, and actually facilitating a face-to-face event to say, well, you did all that work, Rosie. Now we're going to ask you to do a whole load more work to deliver it online. So thank you to Rosie. Those are our contact details if you want to get in touch. The speakers have said they're happy for us to share the contact details, so we can you can get in touch with them if you want to follow up in more detail. So I'm going to close now, and I assume Rosie's going to shut down the event, and then you'll see the feedback form. So thank you all sincerely for supporting us in these difficult times, and we hope to deliver more successful webinars in the future. Thank you very much.